Today we're going to talk about Democrats reclaiming patriotism and how Republicans are reacting as the result of it. So we've seen Kamala Harris reclaim the mantle of strength from Trump when he refused to commit to a debate with her.
And to date, more than 3 weeks in, Kamala Harris hasn't given a single interview. She hasn't come on your program. She's not answering questions.
It's
She's
not
Kamala,
giving
first
speeches.
of all.
But after the DNC, Democrats have actually managed to reclaim, and that's this idea of patriotism.
Burn it down! You guys are the enemy. Don't burn.
They did burn the flag. They don't just hate Trump and conservatives. They hate Israel. They hate America. They hate Western civilization.
Is this idea that Trump and Republicans are the party of patriots. You can't claim to be the party of law and order and yet run a convicted felon.
If this was a genuine crime, they wouldn't have to manufacture laws, revive misdemeanors, pass the statute of limitations, all to get Trump. But the only thing that really unites these people is a hatred of their political opponents. Watch as this trans activist is given the mic to announce the New Jersey delegates are backing Kamala, but instead he goes on some pronoun-announcing anti-Trump rant instead.
My name is Dr. Joey Perella, pronouns she, her, hers. I'm a proud resident of the Garden State. It's time to turn the page on Trump. Thank you.
Now, just a couple of days after his conviction on trumped-up charges, President Donald Trump was in New Jersey for UFC 302. Let's have a look at how he entered the arena.
45. Being ushered in by UFC CEO Dana White.
Can you imagine the reception that Joe Biden would have got? And I really should have given a trigger warning to any lefties watching. I'm sorry, but there's more.
Mercedes Lewis also in the building. Former President Donald Trump.
That's New Jersey, by the way, a strong Democrat state, a state that has voted for the Democratic candidate in every presidential election since 1992. But yesterday they were chanting F Joe Biden and we want Trump. And the UFC fighters were also keen to acknowledge Trump. Here is middleweight Sean Strickland right after his win.
President Trump, you're the man, bro. It is a damn travesty what they're doing to you. I'll be donating to you, my man. Let's get it done.
And here is Kevin Holland running to Trump right after his first round win.
It's limp by his side, even though he's protesting. He's not even picking the arm up.
Now let's look at the sort of projection and hypocrisy that the DNC provides, and it'll take your breath away. Let's start with former First Lady Michelle Obama talking about the Republicans being against children. But really, she's talking here about Republicans being against children who are being transitioned with dangerous, irreversible treatments.
Demonizing our children for being who they are and loving who they love. Look, that doesn't make anybody's life better.
And here Michelle talks about how bad greed is, how you should be suspicious of those who want more than their share. But thanks to Daily Wire for reminding us of the wealth Michelle and Barack have accumulated.
She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed.
She paid more than $1,000 for those shoes. I'd pay that much never to see them again. They're awful. But while they're pretending to be all about joy and positivity, Barack and Michelle Obama did again push the politics of envy, grievance, racial division. And to top it off, we had the entire DNC chanting for the political class to do something. Do something. The Democrats are in power. The Biden-Harris administration is running the show. Do they forget that? Indeed, the Democrats have been in power for 12 of the last 16 years, and yet They decry the state of the country, the division, the economy. It's all on them. But the media has their new talking point, and the word of the day is electric.
And it was though someone had plugged in a cable, a current was connected, and there was pure electricity in the room.
That is preferable to Van Jones on CNN, almost crying after hearing the Obamas speak. Dude, get a grip.
It was like an oasis. I didn't realize I had been in a spiritual desert until they created that oasis on that stage, and they did a beautiful job tonight.
Oh, my mind. Dude, you need those around you to tell you to stop talking, seriously. Now that we've seen a number of lefty women humiliate themselves, let's find a sane, rational, highly intelligent woman humiliate a lefty man. Here is Megyn Kelly and a confused Dan Abrams.
There's wrongdoing here, right? There was definitely wrongdoing. Whether it should have been a crime is a separate... What's the wrongdoing? What's the wrongdoing? All right, number one, it's paying $130,000 to a porn star to keep her quiet. That's to try to protect your campaign. Can we at least agree that's wrong?
That's not illegal. It's not
I didn't say it was... No, I just said moral versus legal.
How is it wrong? Are we talking moral?
I made it clear. I'm making it clear. For a minute, I'm talking about morality versus legality, right? There's no doubt that he engaged in...
All right, I'll tell... Here's my response to that, and I said this on my show the other day. I don't know what kind of weird marriage these two have. Same as I didn't know what kind of weird marriage Bill and Hillary Clinton had. So I don't know what their covenant is in terms of what he's allowed to do on the outside of his marriage.
Again, I don't mind the sex.
He doesn't mind the sex. That was about the most sensible thing he said. Watch as Megyn Kelly schools this clown. By the end of it, you may even feel a little bit sorry for him.
You are now crossing the line into legal problems, right?
You aren't. That's absolutely not right. Incorrect at every level.
Again, no matter what it's for, right? Even if it's illegal conduct, you can just put it, it's an legal expense, right?
This wasn't illegal. There's nothing illegal about paying hush money for an NDA. It's done
there's not.
all the time.
But when you're doing it to protect your campaign, it is. That's the difference.
No. What law are you citing, Dan?
Campaign finance laws. You're not allowed to give the...
You don't know what you're talking about.
What are you talking... You're wrong. Explain to me. Tell me what I'm getting wrong. Tell me what I'm getting wrong. When you're spending $130,000...
I'll explain.
Go ahead.
I get it, because you're saying that there are limits to the campaign contribution somebody could make, and this has exceeded them, and then they hit it. I understand. That's his theory. However, this has been wrong from the start.
Yeah.
It does not amount to a campaign contribution if it is the kind of payment that could ever be made outside of the campaign context.
That's not the standard. The standard is substantiality. It's not. It's substantiality.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
You're wrong.
Okay.
No, it's not.
I guess we're going to have to agree to...
There's been Supreme Court precedent on this.
She's citing Supreme Court precedent. His most compelling argument is, let's agree to disagree. If this was a genuine crime, they wouldn't have to manufacture laws, revive misdemeanors, pass the statute of limitations, all to get Trump. The Trump derangement syndrome remains off the charts of the ABC, and Ferguson and her overpaid, underworked team seem to have learnt nothing from their previous failures. Remember the three-part series we were treated to on the Trump-Russian collusion hoax? Yeah. They've learned nothing. Though Kamala refuses to do an interview, she did, for just a minute, answer a question without the benefit of an auto cue, and it did not go well. Here she is asked about how she plans to pay for these policies she's announcing. See if you can work out the phrase her advisors have clearly drilled into her head.
In terms of the tax credits, we know that there's a great return on investment. And when we increase home ownership in America, what that means in terms of increasing the tax base, not to mention property tax base, what that does to fund schools, again, return on investment. I think it's a mistake for any person who talks about public policy to not critically evaluate how you measure the return on investment.
Return on investment. In the full clip, she said it 4 times in about 40 seconds. It's like a kid cramming for an exam. Just keep repeating it until it sinks in.
I'm a white woman in between and then another white dude right there. That's how we do it. White power. That's my show you get your guys in DC. Shame on you, kid. Our government's fucking shame on you, kid.
Get a job.
And I hope you have nightmares about the people in Chicago.
So there you have a woman telling a cop she hopes he has nightmares while what looks like a dude pretending to be a woman in a keffiyeh, don't try that in Gaza, tells the police officer to get a real job and calls him pathetic and a bunch of other stuff I can't repeat here. That's lefties losing it. Try to figure this out.
Women are not without electoral or political power. No kidding.
No kidding. But let's just get back to that dignity thing Steve Kerr was talking about, dignity and truth. And here we see that sort of glorious dignity of Biden repeating verifiable lies to sow racial division. And in doing so, he even invoked the name of his dead son. It's not very dignified in my book.
And chanting the same exact anti-Semitic bile that was heard in Germany in the early 30s. Neo-Nazis, white supremacists, the Ku Klux Klan. When the president was asked what he thought had happened, Donald Trump said, and I quote, "There are very fine people on both sides. My God." That's what he said. That is what he said and what he meant. That's when I realized, had listened to the admonition of my dead son, I could not stay in the sidelines. So I ran.
So dignified, so truthful, so full of joy. That demented diatribe was, of course, devoid of fact. We told you that years ago. It's all on video. The fine people hoax is just that. Trump did condemn the neo-Nazis and racists unequivocally.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
And yet, years later, the Democrats from Joe Biden down continue to push that dangerous, divisive lie, even after President Trump was almost assassinated. It's beyond despicable. But Steve Kerr thinks it's dignified and full of truth and unity. Now, old Joe also seemed confused because he credited himself, and particularly Kamala, for reopening schools during the pandemic.
During the pandemic, Kamala and I helped states and cities get back their schools back open.
Kamala helped get the schools back open? Really? Do the Democrats think we have forgotten they ran attack ads against Donald Trump for wanting to reopen schools? Remember this?
Desperate to reopen schools because he thinks it will save his re-election.
We have to open the schools.
Critical shortage of PPE.
Threatening their funding.
When they don't open their schools, we're not going to fund them.
Ignoring how the virus spreads, risking teachers' and parents' lives, going against the advice of experts.
It's had very little impact on young people.
Trump was 100% right there. The virus had very little impact on young, healthy kids, and schools should have never been closed. And that was only one of the many, many verifiable lies uttered on the DNC stage by Biden and others. Indeed, the whole thing seemed to be less about Kamala and Walz and the Democrats' vision, and really all about Trump, Trump, Trump.
Trump, Donald Trump,
Donald Trump,
Donald Trump,
Donald Trump,
Donald Trump,
Donald Trump,
Donald Trump,
Donald Trump, Donald Trump,
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump,
Donald Trump.
Trump, Trump.
Who in the hell does he think he is? Who does he think he is?
Indeed, there was very little said at the DNC about the big issues facing the country. Throughout the day, there was only 3 mentions of inflation, only 8 of the border, 6 mentions of crime, but more than 140 mentions of Donald Trump. They seem a tad obsessed.
I'm a white woman in between, and then another white dude right there. That's how we do it.
White power.
That's my soul. You get your gas in DC. Shame on you, kid. Our government's fucking shame on you, kid. Your face is up, kid. You look up, kid. I hate you. Go home, get a real job. God, you're God, Get a job.
And I hope you have nightmares about the people in Chicago.
So there you have a woman telling a cop she hopes he has nightmares while what looks like a dude pretending to be a woman in a keffiyeh, don't try that in Gaza, tells the police officer to get a real job and calls him pathetic and a bunch of other stuff I can't repeat here. That's Lefties Losing.
Which clip is this you got here, Rob?
This is where Bobby Kennedy is criticizing both the DNC and the media for covering up the DNC's corruption, and then
on their capacity to go toe-to-toe with any opponent in the battle over ideas. They would be astonished to learn of a Democratic Party presidential nominee who, like Vice President Harris, has not appeared in a single interview or an unscripted encounter with voters for 35 days.
We've been listening to independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from Phoenix outlining what led him to his quixotic quest for the White House to now dropping out.
The moment he's about to criticize
relinquishing the title of
Kamala, they do this. But first of all, what do you think about his message and what he just talked about?
In this particular clip?
Just all of it, everything, because it was 45 minutes to an hour. It wasn't like it was a 5-minute announcement.
Yeah, it was classic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. You know, he has encyclopedic knowledge on a wide range of subjects, and he covered a great many of them. That clip is interesting, not only because of what he said. What he was effectively saying was that the presentation that we all receive is pure stagecraft, and he's right. And then to have CNN cut away, not able to engage in their usual level of stagecraft because they don't know what he's going to say is incredible. They validated exactly what it was he was describing, which was a fake world that's presented over our screens by these mega monolith corporations that decide what we get to know and when we get to know it.
Now, let me ask you, so when he did this, I tweeted it out, and Rob, I don't know if you have it or not. Here's what I said. I said Bobby Kennedy, RFK Jr. endorses Trump, well, supports Trump, and removed his name from the ballot in 10 swing states. That's a way of not hurting Trump. That's a very big move, leaving it in all the other ones. I believe this has a bigger impact on the campaign than the J.D. Vance VP pick, because I think the J.D. Vance VP pick didn't get you anything you didn't already have. It was a safe pick that you chose him. I think this is going to get the independents. This is going to get the libertarians. This is going to get some of the center-left guys. And even more than anything else, the timing of it was monumental. Why? Because it's a day after the DNC. After they had their event, they're all excited, they're all ecstatic, they're all saying all the stuff that they're saying. And I think even in one of his speeches, he said, at the RNC, the name Joe Biden was mentioned 2 times during the entire convention. But at the DNC, Trump was mentioned 400 times, not because of policies, just trashing him, whether it was from Barack, from Michelle, from Clinton's, from everybody. He says it's no longer about policies. It's just about bashing, and this is not what the old DNC was about. So how big you think, one, this is? Him stepping aside, him not being in the battlegrounds, him supporting Trump, and him trashing the Democratic Party that he left?
Well, I think this is absolutely monumental, because I think we are in a novel moment in American political history where many of us who hold different positions on the political spectrum, have different priorities with respect to policy, are finding that none of our differences matter in light of the jeopardy that the republic is in. And so what he is effectively doing here is he is saying those differences aren't going away, but they're just simply secondary. And he is both structurally, by withdrawing from certain ballots and not others, he is emboldening a movement that is more widely recognizing that those differences have to be put aside until the main job is done. And he's leaving himself an important voice in that discussion. So I was very interested in the way he navigated the idea. This was not a simple endorsement of Trump. This was an endorsement of retaking the White House and using that position to restore the republic to its proper course.
Do you have another clip here, Rob, that you prepared? Which one is this?
This is actually the clip you were just mentioning, where he mentions Biden being used throughout the convention. Trump's name.
Let's hear it.
Instead of showing us her substance and character, the DNC and its media organs engineered a surge of popularity for Vice President Harris based upon, well, nothing. No policies, no interviews, no debates, only smoke and mirrors and balloons in a highly produced Chicago circus. There in Chicago, a string of Democratic speakers mentioned Donald Trump 147 times just on the first day. Oh, who needs a policy when you have Trump to hate? In contrast, at the RNC convention, President Biden was mentioned only twice in 4 days.
That's crazy.
I do interviews every day. Instead of showing us her...
And that's 147 on the first day. Combined totals like 393 that he talks about. Does he having a position or endorsing Trump, does this cause a guy like you to be open to the idea of voting for Trump versus Kamala?
Oh, absolutely. Let me just be perfectly clear about this. I think the modern Democratic Party is an existential threat to the Republic. And although I am a Democrat, I've been a Democrat my whole life, the party that I see in front of me today is literally the inverse of the party I signed up for. This is now the party of war. This is the party of racism. This is the party of censorship. I don't recognize this party. There is no conceivable scenario in which I would vote for Kamala Harris. I just simply will not do it. Am I open to voting for Trump? I am. I'm especially open to it if he is partnered with Bobby Kennedy, because what that tells me is that my values, which are a much closer match for Bobby's, are represented in that administration. And that's really what I want. I want a coalition to redefine American politics because, frankly, we have a long-standing problem with corruption, which has now turned into something else with the modern Democratic Party. But we need to rethink the way we govern ourselves so that corruption is not the dominant force, and a coalition is the way we're going to do that.
Now, the latest scare campaign they're running against Trump is to have a bunch of activist economists suggest Trump's presidency could be disastrous for the US economy and the world. This is the same scaremongering we saw before 2016. Do they think the American people have mass amnesia? Let's hear from a woman I did not expect to be backing Trump, Ark Invest founder Kathie Wood.
Trump or Biden?
Is it? So as I've said to my children, so I have 2 girls and a boy, and they're split on this. As I've said to them, look, I am going to vote for the person who's going to do the best job for our economy. I am a voter when it comes to economics, and on that basis, Trump. I mean, So Art Laffer describes the first 3 years of the Trump presidency as the best in U.S. economic history. Not the last one because of COVID, but, and I would agree.
Wow.
And I went through Reaganomics too.
The first 3 years of the Trump economy were the best in US history. That was the quote there. Interesting. Also interesting is the realisation for many on the left, including Trump-deranged media types like Bill Maher, that the lawfare the Democrats have engaged in to convict Trump on nonsense charges has backfired. Here is Bill Maher with former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, Democrat naturally, confirming what we've been saying all along. These charges would have never been manufactured if Trump wasn't running.
The trial in New York, the one he got convicted for, was the greatest fundraising bonanza ever. He was lagging behind Biden, and now he's pulled quite a bit ahead. That trial was the greatest reason people had to send their checks for $5, $10, $25, whatever dollars to Donald Trump. So I was always with you on the one in New York, the hush money trial. I don't think they should have brought that one. It was just always going to look like a sex case, and people were always just going to look at it that way. So anyway.
That case, the Attorney General's case in New York, frankly, should have never been brought. And if his name was not Donald Trump, and if he wasn't running for president, I'm the former AG in New York, I'm telling you that case would have never been brought. And that's what is offensive to people. And it should be, because if there's anything left, it's belief in the justice system.